the city, where a jail cell can be bigger than your home. Imagine being given a choice, a prison cell or a tiny apartment. Most people would choose the apartment without thinking twice. But what if I told you that in one of the richest cities on Earth, some people live in apartments that can be smaller than a prison cell? And this isn't some forgotten place. This is Hong Kong, a global financial center filled with skyscrapers, luxury apartments, expensive cars, and some of the highest real estate prices in the world. But hidden between those skyscrapers is another Hong Kong. A Hong Kong where thousands of people pay rent to live inside spaces so small that calling them homes almost feels wrong. They're known as Coffin Homes. And once you see what life inside one actually looks like, you'll understand why. Some of these units can be as small as around 16 square feet. Imagine placing a single mattress on the floor. That mattress can take up almost the entire room. There may be barely enough space to move around it. Depending on the design, getting inside can mean squeezing through a tiny opening. Standing normally may not even be possible. For most Americans, this wouldn't feel like a room. It would feel more like a storage box. But for someone living here, it can be their bedroom, their personal space, and their entire home. One tiny box where they sleep. One tiny box where they keep their clothes. One tiny box where they store everything they own. Even changing clothes becomes a challenge. You have to twist your body, move carefully, and use every inch available. Because in this kind of home, every inch matters. But here's something most people don't realize. These buildings weren't necessarily designed to be this way. In some cases, landlords divide existing apartments into multiple tiny units. One floor becomes dozens of separate living spaces. Sometimes additional structures are built inside the same floor to fit even more people. The goal is simple: put as many people as possible into the same amount of space. Imagine an apartment of roughly 800 square feet divided into dozens of tiny compartments. One floor can house more than 24 people. The hallway can be so narrow that there isn't even enough room for everyone's shoes. So people get creative. Ladder steps become shoe racks. Walls become storage. Every empty corner gets a purpose. Because when your entire life has to fit into a few square feet, you learn very quickly how to waste nothing. And then there's the air. In a normal home, if the room gets hot or stuffy, you open a window. Fresh air comes in. You feel the breeze. But imagine living somewhere where ventilation is limited, sunlight barely reaches you, and opening a window isn't always an option. Suddenly, something we treat as completely free, fresh air, becomes incredibly valuable. And that's only one part of the problem. These tiny rooms can also face serious hygiene and pest issues. Some residents deal with bed bugs and other pests. When a mattress becomes part of the problem, some people choose to sleep directly on a hard surface instead. And just inches away from where someone sleeps, there might be food packaging, used towels, or other belongings. Not because people want to live that way, but because there simply isn't enough space. That tiny room has to hold their entire life. Then comes the part that makes this situation even harder to understand: the rent. You might assume that because the space is tiny, it must at least be cheap. But Hong Kong's housing crisis doesn't work that way. For some low-income workers, a huge portion of their income can disappear into rent. Imagine working part-time cleaning homes or doing physical labor, and then watching a large part of your paycheck disappear just to keep a roof over your head. Whatever remains has to cover food, transportation, medicine, and everything else. Some people work exhausting night shifts just to survive. One worker might start around 9 p.m., work through the night, and return home around 5 in the morning. After hours of work, they return to a room where they can barely stand upright. The room might contain only a television, a bed, a blanket, and a pillow. That's it. No living room, no separate bedroom, no spacious kitchen, just enough space to sleep, and start over again the next day. So where do they cook? People who can afford it eat outside, but for those who can't, the bathroom may become the kitchen. Vegetables can be prepared near the toilet. The same small sink used for washing hands may also be used to wash food. And then there's the refrigerator. Imagine more than 20 people sharing a single refrigerator. In the morning, people may line up just to access it. This isn't about luxury anymore. It's about making the smallest possible amount of space work for as many people as possible. Now comes the comparison that makes this story truly disturbing. Hong Kong prisoners can sometimes be given more space than people living in these tiny homes. One prison cell can be several times larger than a coffin home. So the space used for one prisoner could potentially fit multiple tiny residential compartments. And that raises a much bigger question. How did one of the world's richest cities end up like this? To understand that, we have to go back to the years after World War II. Hong Kong experienced enormous population growth. Large numbers of people arrived from mainland China, and the city expanded rapidly. But housing couldn't keep up. The government couldn't provide enough affordable housing for everyone. So overcrowded communities and informal settlements began appearing. Then Hong Kong transformed. The city became a global business and financial powerhouse. Skyscrapers rose into the sky. Luxury buildings appeared. International companies moved in. The city became richer. But the amount of land didn't increase. Hong Kong has extremely limited land. You can build upward, but you can't simply create more land wherever you want. And that creates a brutal equation. More people plus limited land plus enormous demand equals extremely expensive housing. When housing becomes unaffordable, people at the bottom of the economic ladder have fewer choices. And that's where these tiny homes come in. They're not necessarily what people dream of. They're what some people can afford. And the problem doesn't stop with apartments. In a city where space is incredibly valuable, every available piece of land becomes important. Buildings rise higher. Parking structures and rooftops become part of the urban landscape. And normal housing becomes a major financial challenge. That's why some residents are hesitant to speak publicly. They may worry about landlords. They may worry about losing their housing. Because for someone already living on the edge, losing a tiny room can mean losing everything. There's another strange contradiction. Hong Kong is known for having one of the world's longest life expectancies. Yet some elderly residents continue working well into old age. Not necessarily because they want to. Sometimes they simply can't afford to stop. Imagine working for decades and reaching old age only to discover that housing is still one of your biggest financial problems. Living longer is supposed to be a blessing. But when everything is expensive, even old age can come with a price. And now we reach the darkest part of this story. What happens after someone dies? You might think that at least then, they finally get some space. But in Hong Kong, even that isn't guaranteed. Because if there's barely enough land for the living, where does the space for the dead come from? Burial space can be extremely expensive. In some cases, cemetery plots can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars just for a place underground. So some families don't simply buy burial space. they may rent it. Yes, in a city where living space is already incredibly expensive, even the space for the dead can come with rent. At this point, you might imagine that everyone living in these conditions has completely lost hope. But that's not what the story shows. Walk through one of those narrow corridors, and you may see something unexpected. An elderly woman, perhaps around 70, walking to the market with a cane. Sometimes she moves so quickly that even a young cameraman struggles to keep up. You might meet someone who barely has enough room for themselves, yet still invites a guest to sit on their bed. They might even offer that person a small gift. Because when you have very little, sometimes generosity becomes even more meaningful. Another elderly resident may visit a temple every morning, and if the gate is closed, they simply stand outside and pray there. Then someone asks, "Isn't it difficult living here?" Instead of giving a long explanation, they smile. For them, this small space is enough to live their life. And that smile says something powerful. Because sometimes, people don't need a perfect life to find moments of happiness. They adapt. They continue. They wake up. They work. They eat. They pray. They laugh. They live. And maybe that's the part of this story that hits the hardest. Because the things we barely notice can be someone else's dream. A window. A little sunlight. Fresh air. Enough room to stretch your legs. A place where you can stand upright. A bed where you can sleep without worrying about where everything else will fit. We often measure wealth by the things we have. But sometimes, we don't realize how wealthy we are until we see what someone else is living without. So tonight, before you go to sleep, take one look around your room. Look at the ceiling above you. Look at the space beside your bed. Look at the window. Take a deep breath.